Super versus Super. Supermoto versus Supersport. The ultimate 1v1. An all-out battle to see which style of motorcycle will make you smile more. So both of these two motorcycles are very different, but it's funny in the sense that they attract the same buyer. They cater to the same audience. The same person who wants to jump on this and go blistering speeds and tear around everywhere is the same person who wants to wheelie this until the sun sets. Now, I enjoy both of these machines very, very much, but I've never thought about comparing them and putting them against each other to see which I like more. So today that's what we're doing, a complete apples to oranges comparison. But each of these two motorcycles within their category, they hold about the same place. So this is a CRF 450 RL that I have Supermoto'd out. So looking in the Supermoto category, there's certainly ones that are smaller displacement, that are slower, but there is plenty that are larger. The KTM 690, the Husqvarna 701, the GasGas 700. Shoot, we'll even throw in the Ducati 698 Mono. I'd call that a Supermoto. Flipping over to the Supersport category, this is a CBR 600RR. Again, really falls in the middle of the spectrum. There is sport bikes that are certainly slower than this, smaller engines, but then you have all of your leader bikes and ones larger than 1000cc from all of your major manufacturers. I mean, Honda, Kawasaki, Ducati, Aprilia. And the upper tier of sport bikes is gonna have close to double the horsepower that we have in just our CBR 600. The exact same can be said of our Supermoto. Around those 700 size Supermotos, they are getting close to double the power of our 450. So this is going to be very fun. I have a route planned out for us, and so we're just going to rip one bike down that exact loop, and then we'll jump on the other, rip it down the same track. And then we'll come back here, we'll recap, we'll review, and we will decide which one of these ultimate fun devices will make you smile more. Well, my name's Micah. Welcome to the channel. Let's rip into it. And in true sporting fashion, we're gonna flip a coin to decide which bike we ride first. Heads for the Supermoto, tails for the CBR. Supermoto it is.
All right. Oh man, look at those two ponies. I can tell you one thing for sure, today isn't gonna be a bad time. Let's fire this girl up here. Oh yeah. I will say that when you just look at a Supermoto and it's all crispy and fresh and clean, oh my goodness. It does look extremely fun. I mean, as does that. But it's just like you know you're gonna be a bad man when you get on this. Well, let's see what happens. And that's our gap. Now the goal today isn't to raise the most hell. We don't want the whole city out to find us and get us after our rides today. But we must do proper research and development. It's almost our turn. We're up next. And there we go. Oh, a truck backing in. I couldn't just punch it. Well, so right off the bat, the Supermotos, the first thing you instantly notice is like, wow, the bike is very light, it's very agile, it's very nimble. Instantly, you get a sense of freedom, like you could just go anywhere and do anything. Oh, I totally forgot my Speedo's off because I have this calibrated for dirt tires right now because I've got some dirt rides here planned. So just don't mind that. That's going to be about 12% high or something like that. And this thing, you know, your Supermotos have shorter gears, right? And so, like, even right there, you know, we got to bang through 3-4 gears. Just kind of goofing around in traffic. So the Supermotos, right off the bat, they're so engaging just because the nature of what they are. You know, this is not a machine that is geared to go 160 like our CBR is. But right now, when I did the Supermoto swap on this, because I kind of built this myself, I chose to do a 44 tooth rear sprocket, I believe it is, and so it's a little bit taller. So we do have a top speed. Ooh, I love those just little acceleration wheelies. Just barely touch the clutch. Not that you need to touch the clutch. Oh, but anyways, no. So this has got a top speed of about 104. Just all out, ringing it out. Which, that's about right. Oh man, you can just dive into a roundabout corners. It's like nothing. But the gearing that I have this at, my mindset behind that was that I could jump on the highway and cruise at 75 for a quick jaunt, and it would be fine. You know, you've got a bike here that's so light, you aren't going to want to be on the highway. Just the sheer weight of these. You know, your stability is going to come with weight. And of course, steering dampers, geometry, everything plays a factor there. But these Supermotos, you've got a bike that's so light that, you know, out on the highway, man, you get a couple gusts of wind, you get a couple semis going past you, and it just throws you around. It makes the bike twitchy, you know, it'll kind of bob you side to side. So your capabilities, they're just going to be limited on the Supermoto as far as, you know, how long you want to do those higher speed jaunts for. But then I will say, you get a Supermoto to a gravel road and you're just, I mean, maybe one of the most comfortable motorcycles you could ever be on in environments that have less traction than just a straight blacktop. Second gear, third gear, we kind of bob it around. I'll bob it, gotta get all that gravel dust off my tires, so we're good to go. This thing just weaves and you feel the suspension, then you hit a right one, and then it's wheelie time, baby. Oh, man. That is one thing about the Supermotos. Boy, if you want to be on the back tire, the front tire, shoot, take some jumps and be on no tires. Well, that's exactly why these things were made. What is this guy doing? Okay, nothing. Now, in town, in a lower speed metropolitan environment, boy, it is certainly hard to hate your time on a Supermoto. I mean, the feel, the agility that you get to bang through a few gears, it's so light. You have gobs of suspension. If I ever need to rocket over that curb right there to get out of the way, I don't even know if I'd feel it. Ow, ring her out, baby. Oh. You know, if you get a Supermoto, like, say you Supermoto'd a CRF 300L, or if you got the Kawasaki KLX 300 Supermoto, you know, still fun. All of the attributes of our CRF 450, you know, the qualities, you could say the same as those bikes. Now, the main difference there, they're just going to be slower, right? That smaller displacement engine, less horsepower. So you're still doing all the stuff, the stoppies, the wheelies, the hooligan stuff, jump any curb. Just your power is going to be a little bit less there. Maybe it'll, You know, it won't quite be able to top out, ring out as fast. You won't be able to bring up those wheelies quite as easy as you might see me doing here today. But the Supermotos are fun, you know. It seems like it's a category that comes and goes. You know, right now, we're kind of in a middle ground. We do have Supermoto offerings from brands, but it seems like, 5, maybe 10 years ago was a good climax for Supermotos that everybody was like, whoa, those things are awesome. Take the sideway. Oh man, stuff like that is a ton of fun. And of course, I always like to get up to a roundabout with no one in front of me, but it's fine. We'll let them live. But otherwise, you just go in, foot down, well, water and dirt. Okay, well, that slowed us down. Wheelie out of it. And then, you know, you could just lock up the rear brake and drift into these corners. Some days I do. Now, as far as the cruising factor, I mean, on a Supermoto, can you just cruise and smell the roses? Well, absolutely. A lot of these Supermotos do that best at 55 miles per hour or less. So, and you know, some of your big displacements, oh man, we are going hot into those. Little front end race as I punched it out of there. But your larger CC Supermotos, some of those around the 700 size that I mentioned earlier, the Duck, the Husqvarna, the GasGas, the KTM, you know, those being geared a little taller, having a little bit more weight, having, you know, a decent amount more power, you know, some of those you're going to be able to do those highway jaunts. Not too bad at all for a Supermoto. But like I said, our 450 is kind of just a middle ground. Spunky as this might seem, yeah, there is certainly still machines that'll leave this in the dust. Going around, way down, foot down, out of it. Here we go. Something about Supermotos that can be very good for first-time riders, beginners, riders with less experience. You just have so many options of where your body could be positioned on the motorcycle. The motorcycle is so light that you can kind of just, I mean, you could go into corners where you're leaning more than the bike. You're at the same lean angle at the bike. You can go into corners where you're kind of sitting straight up, but you have that bike more down. That'll kind of be the position you want to be in for your drifting. And the bike is so light, it's so approachable. All of those things are so easy. So if you really want to get just an easy introduction into twisties and corners and lean angles, I don't know, man, I think a Supermoto might be your best option for that. And we'll compare our Supersport in that category. We'll see how the CBR, how confident we feel in all of our corners and stuff. One thing I'll say too on a Supermoto is that potholes, railroad tracks, bumps, divots, none of that really matters on a Supermoto. You don't have to watch out for it. You don't have to slow down for it. You just hammer on the, if anything, speed up. I mean, these Supermotos have so much suspension that some of those obstacles and some of that bumpy stuff, you know, you just up your speed and it just gets over it better. Whereas on your Supersport, I would not speed up for the potholes. I would not speed up for the divots and bumps and obstacles in the road. Pop, 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 pop. There is something too about a good thumper, a good single cylinder motorcycle. It just sounds throaty. You know, the way the torque feels and the way the power hits on a motorcycle that is single cylinder. It's good, baby. You probably saw how I kind of just dance with those wheelies side to side. You kind of just change your steering and just my butt on the back of the seat kind of moves side to side. And yeah, you can steer them wherever you want. Well, when I first started on dirt bikes as a youngin', right? And so something about riding a dual sport, riding a Supermoto, riding a dirt bike, it just brings me back. I do just feel like a kid again as soon as I get on one of these. And I start riding it like I was a kid again. About right where I left off on my old dirt bike as a child. Now, there's a few people out in the country. What's everybody doing cruising these roads? These are my roads. But I guess we gotta share them today. Well, I had to pull over and make sure the camera was clean from bugs before we really start ripping this next section. Railroad tracks, didn't feel them at higher speed, we'll say. Who knows how fast we were going. Diving in, foot down, switch the weight. Yep, there we go, baby. Oh, man. It's been a while since I've just ripped a string of roundabouts or some twisty stuff on a Supermoto. Oh my gosh. It is just so easy. Are we gonna get somebody behind us? Nope. Okay, so we'll slow way down here. Oh yeah. Let that pickup get ahead of us. These things, and so Supermotos, our bike here puts 45 horsepower to the ground, right? But in first gear, if I just smack the throttle, oh man, the front violently raises up instantly. Coming over, switch the weight, diving down. Oh yeah, baby! Man, that feels good. That feels good. Switches to third gear, hammers it. Oh, yes! And I just feel that front end kind of just weightless as I come out of these roundabouts. Oh, man. That is fun. Let's just hammer another one here. Oh, yes. Oh, yes again. Oh, man! Alright, we gotta calm it down. We're getting a little wild. And the Supermoto will do that to you. It gives you feelings of Superman, feelings of incredible confidence. Maybe to a fault. It hasn't been to a fault yet for us, but yeah, these things can you can get a little too confident too quick just because a little power and not much weight. You start to realize how crazy of a combination that is. And yeah, actually me saying that kind of just helps me realize that it's all about power to weight. Power to weight is the number you want to look at to know how fun, how fast, how agile a bike is going to be, how it will handle itself, what its road manners are. And so, like, yeah, not that we're making a ton of just sheer raw power. Our claim to fame on this Supermoto is just that we don't weigh very much. We don't need to make 100 horsepower. Shoot, we don't even need to make half of it. If we're just light, whatever horsepower we have is just gonna rocket us around. Now you don't even have to go around the roundabout. Yeah, you can jump those curbs like that on a Supermoto. And it's, yeah, it's just, don't even think about it. The Supermoto is kind of the ultimate freedom in the sense, if you look there, you can go there. All right, so this one we're doing a full wraparound circle. Oh man, I do love just as soon as you're kind of towards the end of that corner, just pull up that wheelie. You know, when riding other motorcycles, I always have the feeling, really any other cycle, that I'm really just managing the cycle's weight, right? And I'm playing with that. That's what I am trying to maneuver around. Whereas a Supermoto, I really just feel like I'm playing with my weight as a rider more. That's just more important on this style of bike, and it affects just where your weight is going to affect this a lot more because it's so light. All right, coming in hot. Traffic's got a good clip here. Oh yeah, baby. Never mind, the good clip is over. We got a snail in the mix. Well, that's fine. I'll just zigzag around. You know, a Supermoto, let me say, as I'm doing that zigzagging across the street, you know, down to the right, down to the left, and back and forth. When you come across and you stand up and you get your bike perfectly straight in between that transition, it feels completely weightless. Because you dive into a corner and you feel that suspension compress, you know, as you turn, as you cut against those corners, and that suspension compresses, then you come back up straight and it's just weightless. There has been some times where I'm doing that, just weaving back and forth, right to left, and my front tire literally comes off the ground at the in-between, at the apex, you know, right between my turns there. You know, I'm coming in hot. Oh, this VW. I mean, we could eat him alive, but we won't. We'll let him live. All right. Just a quick half mile on the highway to get to our next turn. Okay. He sees an opportunity. He sees a gap. He takes it. How fast can I catch a car that was going 65? Pretty fast. 101, 102. Yeah, that speedo obviously is reading high. We weren't actually at 107 or whatever it said. I don't know what I could get to on this. I mean, I think 104 is... I haven't done like a proper full tux top speed run. It's just kind of roughly getting an idea, and just over 100 is where I pegged it in my initial test. Maybe a little stand-up wheelie. Why wouldn't we? These are so easy. I could literally hold this all day till the sun sets, but I probably shouldn't, because somebody will have a problem with it. Somebody always does. Somebody somewhere. That is just gonna ruin their day. Now, how is a Supermoto received by the public when you're riding this thing just through your city, down the highway? When you catch those glances from everybody, what are those glances like? Are they good? Are they bad? I would say the Supermoto gets... It's favored by a slightly higher percentage than the Super Sports. I think the Supermoto, something about crotch rockets, right? When they have that high pitch, your inline fours just, people are just like, it's those crotch rockets again. But the Supermoto, you'll get a couple glances from people, older people, that'll look at you and be like, he's probably up to no good on that. But I would say over 50%, the majority of the population and drivers that I go past, the Supermoto is received well by them. It's received the best by the kids. I don't know, there's something about just a dirt bike on the street that, oh man, they just love it. And you just see their jaw just hits the floor. Their eyes are so big. And so, of course, I always give them a wheelie or something like that. And that's how you make future bikers. But the Supermoto, it's a good life. It is a good life. It's a life that you'll enjoy very much. Are other people gonna look at your Supermoto and be like, that's the coolest motorcycle ever? Well, I mean, some of them will. I would say if you take out from the population, take the group of people that like motorcycles, right? Of that group, I think a higher percentage are gonna think that a sport bike is cool over your Supermoto. Because sport bikes just look like they're going fast as they are standing still. And of course, that draws me to them as well. I'd like to think that we made those guys this day better. Quick jaunt through the city again. Oh man. You can still scurry around even though you're not on a Super Sport. Like I said, that power to weight, baby. That's your claim to fame for speed on this. We got another motorcycle behind us. Let's see what it is. Maybe we can have a friend. It's an MT10? An MT10. Wow. That's pretty hilarious. You don't see those too much. I feel like the naked motorcycle rider, they have an appreciation for the Supermoto. Because we're similar, but he's still faster. But I'd like to think that I have more fun. I mean, I'm sure there's no shortage of fun to be had on an MT10. Man, he is scurrying fast. I want to keep up with him, but like, I think you're buzzing a little bit too fast through the city, my man. Oh crap, the traffic jam of traffic jams. Look at this. Oh no. What in the world? Well, MT10 is scurrying around. He's turning around. Haha. Because you don't have a Supermoto, brother. Sorry about it, folks. Don't be mad that I've got a Supermoto. They will be. They will be furious. Oh, yeah! Oh, yes! Oh, chopping the throttle on a motard. It's fun. Alright, home sweet home. Now to take that bad girl out. Well, I mean, if I must. Alright, switching to the Rocket. Well, that certainly has a different sound than the Supermoto did. I can tell you that. Sounds so racy. Well, alright, here goes number 2. Well, I can tell you right off the bat, this certainly sits and feels different. I'm leaning way forward, lots of weight on my hands. I had none on the Supermoto, but this thing has just longer legs. And when we are accelerating very hard on this motorcycle, this is the seating position that we're gonna wanna be in, obviously, just leaning forward right over the front wheel. Yeah, so the Supersport, so right off the bat, I mean, we had so much initial bite and torque with the Supermoto. Not that we were going blistering speeds, but it really could snap you back right away. Whereas you get to the Supersports, you know, something like this bike here, it redlines at 15,000 RPMs. So, you know, when I pull away from a stoplight and I'm at 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 RPMs, we really don't have much for power and torque. We've got to have our RPMs up higher, you know, past that 9,000, and really 9,000 to about that 15 is where we're going to start flying. Well, and we're at the front of the line here, so we can really give her the beans right out of this corner. All right, here's our opportunity. One shot, one opportunity. Oh my gosh! Boy, that is a change from the Supermoto. Holy moly. Boy, you better hang on for dear life. And there is just something about that speed, about that power. Gosh, I've owned a lot of motorcycles in every different style and category. But something I can never get off my mind is just how fast super sport motorcycles are. And just feeling that pull, you know, on 1,000, it's just all the time. On a 600, you've got to have your RPMs up, getting your power band, and then you'll feel it. But, oh man, that is just, golly. It is so fast. It is so fun, might I add. But so, all right, we've got, you know, about a mile here, a little bit slower, just 35. Got to cruise past some houses until we get out to the country here a little bit. So how is the slow cruising? Can you just smell those roses? Can you chill on a Supersport? Well, yes I would say that you can chill a little bit easier on a Supermoto. I mean, now our CRF 450 RL specifically has kind of a twitchy throttle, but even still, when you're trying to chill on the Supersport, here's how it looks. Let me show you how this goes down. You remove your left hand from the handlebar. That goes right on your knee right there. Then your left foot, you go to the tiptoe on your foot peg. You slide your butt back on the seat a little bit, and now suddenly you're a little bit comfortable. You still got a lot of weight on your twig and berries right there. But so they're just different. You know, once you're cruising at like 80 miles per hour down the freeway, you know, you have this forward lean, this forward position that you're in. But if you can get a little wind hitting you, that wind will kind of keep some of that weight off of your wrists, off of your groin, off of your core, off of your... Oh, dear! And it's not like we're all in, just giving her all the beans yet, but just the spirited, kind of fun, playful acceleration on a Supersport, man. Even when you're like 50% throttle on these, you're still just fast as blazes. And that sound. As far as the different styles and sizes of Supersport go, as far as engine configuration, man, I really enjoy the variety that we've got nowadays. You know, you could get some sporty motorcycle that's a V-twin, that's a parallel twin, that's a triple, that's an inline four. You've just got a few different options nowadays, and they all kind of have their strong suit, right? They're all kind of good in their own way. They're all gonna have a different sound, a different power band, a different feel. Oh, the State Patrol. I'm glad we didn't punch it there. Now, as far as agility, maneuverability, how light on their feet are Supersports? Well, so once you look at all street-oriented bikes of any brand, any category, Supersports, you know, are going to be the most agile. They're the lightest weight of street bike. The Supermoto, I don't really consider like a street bike. Like, it's a dirt bike at its core, but it's been converted, you know, with wheels and tires to be more street, more road friendly. They're not a true street bike. So when you look at all the true street bikes, your cruisers, your nakeds, your touring bikes, your super sport bikes, yeah, the Supersports are the most agile. I mean, hands down. So when you compare the tip-top, highest tier agility of a street bike with the top-tier agility Supermoto, what do those each feel like as you compare them to each other? Well, so you could both score them the same in a point score, but just different feelings overall. You know, your sport bikes are just going to be so comfortable and so planted at higher speed, whereas the Supermotos, you know, they just don't have the weight to feel completely planted and stable at higher speeds. Good night. And it's not even that you need to completely wind it up and feel all the speed and power that this thing has to offer. Wow, knee down, yes, baby! But it is that sound. Oh my goodness. And there's a feeling to that goes along with it. You're sitting on top of a motor that winds up. The RPMs, you know, are gonna go 3 times as high as they do in your car. And that you're sitting on it, you literally feel those vibrations in your legs, in your butt, in your core, in your hands, in your teeth. You feel it in your teeth on these. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they still do the wheelies, yep. That is for sure. But yeah, there is just a feeling on these inline 4 motorcycles. And a sound that goes along with the music that goes along with, I'll correct myself. It's just like nothing else. I mean, I love the roar of a V-twin. A triple sounds like an F1 car or a fighter jet. But, man, an inline 4 just, I don't know. It tickles you in a way that nothing else can. Potholes and divots and stuff that I didn't feel on the Supermoto. Yeah, you'll feel all of them on this. Even though each setup has those 17-inch wheels and tires, I just do not have a comparable suspension system on this Supersport. You know, I have about, I don't know, 4 inches of suspension travel, maybe, front and rear. I mean, that tops. And I think on our CRF 450RL, I don't know what I have, 12 and a half, 13 inches of suspension travel, front and rear. Oh my goodness, I've got to quit doing that. I've got to quit doing that, especially in town. You know, I can bang through a couple gears, a few gears, before I'm at the speed limit on the Supermoto. Still feels just as fast, but even though this is faster, you know, an all-out drag race, everything like that. But man, you want to bang through a few gears on this, you are over 100 miles per hour in a heartbeat. Which is fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But you will lose your driver's license and all driving privileges if you get caught doing that too many times. So you gotta so you gotta have a little bit of self-control on these. I seemingly have none. That's why I try and ride out in the country away from anybody, so there's no people, no nothing around to look out for or anything like that. Oh man. Not brutal acceleration, nothing. Just going through a few gears. Giving that motor a few RPMs. It feels right. It feels right. There is just something special even when you're just cruising down the road, you know, say just 55 miles per hour on a Supersport, comparing that to a cruiser, to a scooter, to anything else as far as like a street bike goes, these just feel rock solid still and planted. I mean, they feel glued to the road. A Supersport motorcycle just hits a combination of things. It is the geometry, the engineering of the bike in that sense. It's going to be the suspension systems that they put on these. On top of that, the tire sizes. You know, that 120 17 up front, the 180 17 that we've got in the rear. Man, that is a combination for just total control, traction, and confidence as far as like road riding goes. Everything about this bike is just made for the pavement. It's made for the tarmac. And can you be surprised? You have a motorcycle that's, I mean, it was designed for the racetrack. All the inspiration for the street legal CBR 600RR that I'm on today. The styling, the engineering, the everything came from the racetrack. That is where the heart of this bike lies. The downshifts, the upshifts, the random revs. These are an experience. These are an experience. It's funny, I'll always have Supersports and then I sell them. I decide to be like responsible or practical or something to that nature. And it never lasts, baby. I always get back on these darn things. 3 cars ahead of us as our roundabout twisty central is coming up. Are they all gonna turn off? Can I get ahead of them all? How is this gonna pan out? He sees his opportunity. He takes it. Oh my goodness. What is going... Oh, school just got out. That's what it is. Oh no. Maybe our riding is toast around the roundabouts. We might have to take a different route. Yeah, there's like a massive traffic jam up there. Yeah, no way. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna go right back the way we came, baby. All right, here we go. Back on the open road. To bang a few gears. Golly. Woo! And this is a great example in me being on a 600 today, in that you don't have to be on the fastest Supersport of all time. You don't need to be on the Hayabusa or the Kawasaki H2 or the brand new Ducati Panigale. You could be on something half that fast and have worlds of fun, gobs of fun. And people always always associate, you know, super sport motorcycles with being dangerous and deadly. And, well, it's because there's a few hooligans out there that have no self-control and they just ride like a banshee everywhere they go, through town, splitting cars, absurd speeds. So yeah, you ride like that, well, you're going to be the cause of your own demise. But to me, honestly, a super sport is 10 times safer than a cruiser. Why do I say that? Because it is so nimble and so agile. You know, if there is something in the road, I veer my steering and we can get around it in a heartbeat. I mean, you can just like, very, very quick to react. I would say you have a ton of confidence on the Supermoto because you're sitting upright. It doesn't feel as foreign as a super sport. The super sports, you're leaning way forward. You don't sit on anything else. You don't ride anything else in life quite like you ride one of these. Whereas just a Supermoto, you sit on it just like that bicycle that you grew up with. So there is a familiarity with the feeling of a Supermoto compared to the Supersport. And so that familiarity is going to add a ton of confidence for you, right? But where your confidence comes from on this, when you get to the twisties and the curves and all the fun roads, you get your confidence from just the stability that these have. It's that glued feeling to the road. That is what's making you feel like you could do anything. Oh, man. Obviously. Oh man, as far as practicality though, is like the super sport more practical for an everyday sense as opposed to the Supermoto? Well, I guess what I'll say is when I'm riding around town here like we are today, I never think twice. You know, if I have an errand to run, I never think twice about like, oh, is one motorcycle going to be better than the other one? The truth be told, at the end of the day, they probably feel and seem about the same for metropolitan city riding, commuting. Guys, be warned. If you've never had a super sport motorcycle and you get a super sport motorcycle, be ready for ultimate female attention. Here we go, flying in, coming in hot, diving, winging around, yep, that's the one. Sound like a missile. Well, so the super sports certainly are fun. A little bit different kind of fun. You know, we're like cruising the same streets that we did on the Supermoto, but our driving style, our riding style is just a little bit different on this. You know, it's kind of as far as like what you do, what's really fun on this bike as opposed to the Supermoto. Different roads, different characteristics of the roads that you'll look for.
good. We're going. It's our turn.
Okay, that was the last wheelie, last one. I've been very good on this Super Sport, I will say. All right, home sweet home. Holy cow! Those are two crazy freaking fun machines.
Ooh-wee. Well, and a glorious afternoon like that deserves an ice-cold brew. Wha-bam! Koozie on the ready. That was just a grand old good time. So to recap and come to a conclusion on these two ultimate fun machines, is one better than the other? Well, now, like I said in the intro, this is an apples to oranges day. This is very hard to try and compare these two bikes, and nonetheless to try and be in a situation to where you have to choose one or the other. But that's the way I pitched it. That's a conclusion we're gonna come to. So I think your obvious conclusion when comparing these two machines and which is better, what they're each good for, you just have a machine, the Supersport. It's good for higher speed shenanigans. Then you have the Supermoto. It is the king of slower, lower speed shenanigans. If I had to put an exact speed on that, I'd probably just say the 60 mile per hour mark. Your Supersports are more fun above 60. Your Supermotos are more fun below 60. Now, as far as pros and cons to each of these, I think there's three obvious pros for each of these bikes. Your three obvious pros on our Supermoto are just gonna be wheelies till the sun sets. They are the king of wheelies. If you wanna learn how to do wheelies, if you wanna do the longest wheelies, if you wanna steer your wheelies, if you wanna do circles, just everything there, I think your Supermoto is gonna be king. Second pro to the Supermotos, just the light agility that they have. They're so maneuverable, and that is what truly gives this Supermoto such a feeling of freedom, because it is so light, it is so easy, you're upright, everything is comfortable. The weight and size maneuverability of it just inspires confidence. And then I guess for the third pro on this Supermoto, it just kind of has to do with that shorter gearing, that this bike is good for slower stuff. It makes it so engaging, throughout your everyday riding experience. And you saw it, that I can bang through 4 gears before I'm at the speed limit, whereas first gear on the Supersport would hit every speed limit on every road that you saw us cruise through. So I think those are 3 areas that the Supermoto really shines in. Now, 3 pros for the Supersport. First one, obvious. They are fast. They are fast as light. Oh man! But these things are so fast. Even our 600, if we wind it up, and you probably saw, once you get to those higher RPMs, a 600 Supersport is a missile. This thing will rip your face off and not feel bad about it for an instant. And of course, you won't mind it either. But yeah, they're just fast. They have long legs, and so you need more room to get them to those speeds to be able to experience that. But yeah, just the speed is the sheer #1 alluring, attractive factor for your Supersports. And then the second praise, the second pro that we have to give the Supersport bike is just going to be the stability that comes with a platform like that. Wide, grippy tires, firm suspension systems, shorter wheelbases, good agility. These bikes inspire confidence, but in their own way, in areas where the Supermoto lacks. But it's just not even comparable with speed. The Supersports, just all the time, the Supersports are glued to the road. The stability and the confidence that they inspire, it is unmatched. So that's an obvious second pro for the Supersport. The third obvious pro for the Supersport is just the look, the presence that they have. Instantly you see those bikes and you're just like, Wow. There is just no question in your mind when you see a Supersport bike. You can look at it and instantly know that's fast. That is a fast motorcycle. And so there is just a show-stopping factor. So those are 3 areas where each of these styles of motorcycles really excel, and just categories that they really are the king of. So it is a tough comparison. Each of these bikes, like I was saying earlier, they attract the same buyer. Well, obviously, I own both. So this is a tough comparison from the get-go, but gun to my head, if I had to decide one of these styles of bike to keep. Golly, this is difficult. Honestly, I'll eliminate the Supersports. I'm gonna go with Supermoto. I'm gonna give Supermoto the crown just because this is just so fun. It can do so many things. I don't quite know what the limit of a Supermoto is. I can kind of dream and scheme and suspect at what maybe this is something this bike couldn't do. It's probably gonna do it, and it's probably gonna do it very, very easy. And all of your fun hooligan shenanigan type stuff is just at a slower speed, so maybe it's a little safer, more practical. Yeah, I'll give it to the Supermoto. So that's gonna be my conclusion. That's what I'm going with today, but they're both good. They're both so fun. And hopefully today's video kind of showed the different areas, the different speeds, the different environments where each of these machines will really shine. So I think that's about gonna wrap it up for today. So comment with any questions. Otherwise, like the video if you had fun today. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. And until next time.